Something brought you here, and it wasn't by chance. From the moment you clicked, your vibrational field started to move, even if you don't notice it. And the most unsettling thing is this: you haven't done anything yet, and still, you've already activated a force that humanity forgot centuries ago. Todd wrote it down, a forbidden technique, hidden even from many initiates, capable of making the universe respond without struggle, without rituals, without pleading, and without haste. And I'm going to give you the first code right away. You don't conquer by pushing, you conquer by getting into alignment. The more you try to force it, the further away you are. It sounds absurd, I know, but that's how the law works. Todd didn't create through nonstop action, he created from vibration. There is a record in the halls of Amenti that shows it clearly. He stopped, entered into absolute silence, and in that instant, reality took shape. Well, that's exactly what can start to happen to you if you stay until the end, because there's something that almost no one mentions. There is a point inside you that activates that force, and you're just seconds away from discovering where it is. But first, we need to break the most dangerous lie, the one that's sabotaging your vibration right now without you even realizing it. When you become still, the universe responds. When you stop wanting so anxiously, everything comes to you. If you reach that moment of silence that Todd would enter, then it's time to expose one of humanity's greatest acts of self-sabotage. The problem is that it looks like a virtue, it looks like discipline, it looks like courage. But behind that mask hides the deepest block to manifestation. It's misdirected effort, the idea that only those who suffer win, those who exhaust themselves, and those who keep rushing around as if the universe owes them something. Todd was blunt. What is forced is lost. The universe doesn't respond to how hard you try. It responds to the frequency that effort emits. The trap starts early. From childhood, you learn that you have to earn, prove yourself, and wear yourself out just to get even the basics. What nobody explains to you is that when that effort comes from misalignment, it produces more scarcity than results. It's like swimming against a current you can't see. The more you move, the farther you get from the shore. And the worst part is that resistance isn't noticeable at first glance. It settles in the subtle field, behind the scenes. Every thought of obligation, every attempt to control timing, every push toward a path that doesn't flow, leaves behind accumulated tension. And that tension creates friction. It carries the vibration of lack. It carries the vibration of doubt. It carries the vibration of disconnection. The field picks up everything. You can repeat affirmations, visualize, pray, say that you trust. But if deep down there's urgency, control, or desperation, no manifestation is possible. The field listens to what you feel, not what you say. That's where effort becomes a golden cage. You look busy. You're productive, always on the move. But in reality, you're spinning in circles, stuck in the same pattern of resistance. Todd explained it precisely when he talked about the principle of polarity. Every force generates its opposite. Every intention charged with tension creates resistance. Simply put, the more you force a reality, the more it opposes you. That's the detail that almost no one notices. Effort, excessive effort, doesn't attract, it repels. Because the vibration of effort is the vibration of absence. It's energetically declaring that what you desire is still not yours, that it's far away, and that it will only come through sacrifice. And just with that, you already keep it out of reach. It's not about stopping yourself from acting. It's about letting go of friction, about abandoning the silent anxiety that drives most people. That constant feeling of being late, that if you don't do everything right now, you'll lose everything. That's not flow, that's fear. And where fear vibrates, creation shrinks. Todd not only taught it, he lived it. In the oral traditions of Egypt, it is said that he guided his disciples into states of deep contemplation before any action. He knew it. If action does not arise from inner silence, it arises from confusion, and everything that arises from confusion returns to it. Here you begin to understand why so many times, even when you do everything right, nothing happens. You study, you work, you plan, but the field is misaligned. The foundation is the fear of not making it, the internal rush, the feeling that you have to hurry. And that becomes a constant, invisible, and deeply self-sabotaging vibration. But everything starts to change when you see the trap for what it really is. It's not your destiny, it's inherited programming. It's not a universal law, it's a cultural illusion. And the moment you recognize it, a new space opens up. That's when resistance starts to dissolve on its own, without internal struggle, without fighting against time, without pushing yourself toward anything. Todd subtly hid the first key to reversing the invisible force, keeping desires away within his teachings. The forbidden gesture, the affirmative movement, the force that triggers the true flow. And he called all of it the state of pre-manifestation, a vibration that comes before any form, before any mental intention. It's such a subtle field. Most people live their whole lives without noticing it, but it's always there, before desire, before action, before the urge to do something right away. And when you enter that point, the world starts to respond. Not because you do more, but because you're in the right place inside. It's hard to explain with words because it has nothing to do with thinking positive or repeating phrases in front of the mirror. It's an internal shift, a return to what you are when there's no interference. Without hurry, without resistance. The mind in silence, the body present, the heart at rest. It's not apathy, it's pure magnetism. And the most curious thing is this. You already know that frequency, or you've already been there, even if it was just for a few seconds. That moment when everything slows down. Time seems to stand still. You feel that something is coming, but you don't need to run after it, because you know without knowing how, that it's already on its way. That's the field. The exact point where reality starts to reorganize itself in your favor. Not by effort, but by vibrational coherence. And this field is not activated by complicated techniques, it's activated by surrender. But not a passive surrender, but a lucid and conscious one. The simple act of observing without controlling, without correcting, without rushing. You breathe, you are here, and that, even if it sounds too simple for the ego, is enough for the field to start working for you. Yes, in the oldest Hermetic traditions, there was talk of initiates who would spend entire days in absolute silence before any act of creation. It wasn't punishment, it was alignment. Because sound only has power when it is born from the right silence. Todd recorded this, not in technical manuals or obvious instructions, but between vibrational lines. The first activation of that field isn't spectacular. It's subtle. You start to notice small signs. The body relaxes. The mind slows down. Your internal time changes. And without doing anything, you feel that something is being rearranged, as if an invisible gear is turning in your favor again. That's the intelligence of the field coming into action. Not because you pushed, but because you stepped aside. That's why it's recorded. Even loaded with techniques, practices, and rituals, they can't manifest anything. They do it from tension, and when the tension goes away, even for a second, the field responds. It always responds. It was just waiting for you to be silent long enough to listen. And now that you've started to perceive that field vibrating around you, there's something important you need to know. It can get stronger. There's a way to maintain that state. Expand it so that it's not just a fleeting flash, but your natural way of being in the world. That's where the gesture appears. A simple, contained, silent gesture, but so powerful that the ancients considered it sacred. It doesn't invoke, it doesn't beg, it doesn't ask for anything, it doesn't negotiate with the universe. It simply reveals something, that you no longer need to run, that you remember you are ready. In ancient traditions, this gesture was not explained with words. It was transmitted through direct observation, by imitation, in silent rituals in hidden temple chambers. Only those who reached a certain vibrational state could even notice it. And when it was performed, it didn't create magic, it activated memory. Because this gesture doesn't serve an external function, it embodies an internal meaning. It marks the moment when the seeker stops moving from desire and begins to vibrate in certainty. It's an energetic seal that says it's already done. Even before something manifests, the field recognizes that the decision has been made, and that changes everything. In Hermetic language, this movement symbolizes total surrender to the intelligence of the flow. It's not surrender in the usual sense. It's a vibrational surrender where you let go of control over the paths, the timing, and the details. You position yourself as a channel or a vessel that carries the seed of manifestation but doesn't force it to grow. It holds it, it contains it, it allows it. The curious thing is that this gesture doesn't have a name. The records don't assign it one, but its shape appears again and again, sculpted in Egyptian reliefs, engraved on Mesopotamian seals, discreetly repeated in Gnostic manuscripts, and even in medieval occult symbols. Always the same subtle positioning. A hand rests over the center of the chest. The other gently descends toward the earth with the palm facing downward. It's not superficial symbolism. This gesture aligns two magnetic points of the body. The hand on the chest activates heart coherence, the vibration of presence. The hand toward the ground anchors that vibration in the physical plane. It's like telling the universe, I do not ask, I assume. And in that instant, something happens. Maybe you're already feeling it. The edges of your perception sharpen. Sounds become distant. Your breathing changes its rhythm. Your mind slows down without you having to command it. It's as if the field around you is listening to what you haven't said yet, because in reality it is. That gesture, subtle as it may seem, does not go unnoticed. It's a silent signal that you've left search mode and finally entered a receptive state. And the most interesting thing is that many times the response from the field arrives before you even notice it. Small coincidences, unexpected encounters, ideas that appear out of nowhere. An inner calm that you can't explain. Subtle signs that something has been activated. And yes, it was activated. But not because you made the gesture, but because by doing it, you entered the frequency of someone who no longer needs to prove anything. You stopped moving from a place of lack and started moving from a place of presence. That is the invisible key that turns desire into magnetism. The point of surrender where the universe takes command, and it's right there when the gesture is completed and the field begins to respond to silence instead of effort, that an uncomfortable truth comes to light. Because at the same time reality draws near, you begin to see clearly what was keeping it away. And that revelation hurts, because it dismantles all the logic you followed for years. Todd called this the inverted field, a vibrational state in which everything you do, even if it seems right, produces exactly the opposite of what you want. The dangerous thing is that it settles in quietly.
Se forma a partir del exceso de deseo, exceso de pensamiento, exceso de acción. Cuanto más intentas resolver, conquistar o acelerar,
you get further from what you want. The inverted field can't be seen, can't be heard, and isn't expressed in words. It lives in the deepest part of your vibrational state. It's like magnetism in reverse. You say you want love, but you vibrate with fear of rejection. You say you want abundance, but you breathe scarcity. You say you're looking for freedom, but you feed on anxiety. The field doesn't listen to what you claim, it responds to what you are. And this is where many stop. Because this truth is uncomfortable, it's easier to believe that the world is unfair, that you're unlucky, that everything works out better for others. It's comfortable to blame what's outside you. But when you understand that it was your own field vibrating against you, you can no longer pretend you don't know. That's why Todd was so clear on this point. He said that the universe doesn't punish or reward, it reflects. And when we don't like the reflection, the mind's impulse is to break the mirror. But the true alchemist doesn't attack the reflection, he adjusts the vibration of the source. And the source is you. That shift is subtle, but you can feel it. You already know it. It's that feeling of chasing after something with all your strength and watching it move further away. Or that moment when you let go, stop, and rest. And suddenly the answer appears. It's not a coincidence, it's the intelligence of the field showing what attracts and what repels. What generates the inverted field is inner contraction. The tension that comes from believing something is wrong, that you have to fix, correct, or force things, and that tension closes the channel. What was ready to come closer stops. What was almost in your hands dissolves. Because the energy you emit weighs more than any action. This is where everything starts to turn. When you recognize that what was keeping you away wasn't the world, or people, or chance, but the distorted vibration of your own field based on fear, control, and haste. That recognition alone already begins to reverse the flow. The field doesn't need you. It responds the moment you realign yourself. The second you let go of the tension, even if just briefly, the wheel turns. And what seemed blocked starts to move silently with no apparent logic just because you stopped reversing your own energy. And when the field responds, when the signs start to align without you lifting a finger, something inside you understands it. Effort was never the way. Not because it's wrong, but because it was inverted, forced, controlled. At that point, the mind tries to take control again. It wants to understand, measure, make sure that this time it's going to work. And that's exactly where the next leap happens. Todd called that threshold the point of surrender, an almost invisible boundary between control and trust. Between the mind that wants to control everything and the awareness that finally allows. And the truth is that almost no one crosses it because it requires a radical internal decision to stop trying to control the universe. Not because you gave up, but because you finally understood that control was the real obstacle. That point has no signs or visible rituals. It happens inside, in an instant, in a sigh. In a breath where you truly let go of the burden of having to understand everything, foresee everything, secure everything. You don't surrender to life, you surrender to the intelligence that sustains it. And when that happens, something collapses in silence. The ego. The mind panics and tries to pull you back. It tells you that it's dangerous not to plan, not to anticipate, not to control. But the soul recognizes it instantly. It was always waiting for that moment. That's when you step aside and stop interfering with the natural movement of the field. When you cross that point, the vibration changes so quickly that the senses can't keep up with it. You don't see it, you feel it. Things start to come without noise or spectacle, but with an unsettling precision. A message appears when you no longer expected it. A yes emerges where before there was only emptiness. A door opens without you pushing it. Everything starts to turn in your favor effortlessly because you finally let the universe do what it always tried to do. Surrender. That point of surrender activates a new level of spiritual sovereignty. And here comes what almost no one understands. Surrendering is not submitting, it's acknowledging. Taking responsibility means acknowledging that there is a greater order at work, that you don't need to carry the world on your shoulders, that there is an intelligence so vast, so precise, so subtle, that it only acts when you make space for it. That is not passivity. It's presence, total presence, aligned with what you want to attract. You no longer say you trust. You trust. You no longer repeat that something is yours. Vibrate as if it were already yours. And that vibration reorganizes everything. The ancients knew it. In the initiation schools of Egypt, that was the true threshold. Only those who learned to yield could cross the veil. And that surrender was not explained. It was felt. It was the moment when the initiates stopped chasing power and began to live from that power. And that's exactly what is starting to activate in you now. The flow of Ket, the frequency that attracts without calling anything in. When you cross the point of surrender, it's as if the gear that used to work against you starts turning in your favor. But it doesn't do it with noise or spectacle. There's no explosion of results. There's a softness, an almost imperceptible change. Like a breeze that changes direction and suddenly everything starts moving differently. That change has a name that almost no one remembers: Ket. In the oldest records of Egypt, Ket was not just a spiritual state. It was a real frequency, a vibrational quality so pure that nothing could oppose it. It doesn't work like an aggressive magnet. It doesn't push. It doesn't demand. It radiates presence. And everything that is in harmony with it comes closer on its own. Everything taught that the true master does not chase. He vibrates. And what is compatible arrives without orders, without forced intention, without physical movement. The mind has a hard time accepting this because it was trained to act, to plan, to repeat. But when the body enters the flow of Ket, the difference is felt immediately. It's not euphoria. It's a deep calm that comes from within, as if every cell understands that there's nothing left to chase. That silent confidence changes the field around you. Your mere presence begins to reorganize the environment effortlessly, and you don't need elaborate rituals to get there. Todd only left subtle guidance, a slower breath, a relaxed attention in the space between thoughts, to a state of contemplation where you don't ask for anything, you just allow. It's like tuning an instrument. You don't create the music. You adjust the vibration that was already there. The longer you hold that frequency, the more stable the field becomes. The vibration consolidates and it starts to emit signals that the universe understands without translation. You no longer say, "I want." Vibrate like someone who already has it. And that coherence is irresistible to the flow. The ancients even left a symbol to represent that vibrational stability. Tablets appear showing two interwoven fields, one ascending and one descending, joined by a central axis. The message is clear. The flow doesn't come from outside, it is born from within. And when it is sealed, it not only activates the field, it also protects it. Because when that frequency settles in, reality starts to bend around you. In a subtle but real way, people listen to you differently. Situations that were previously blocked reorganize themselves without you intervening. Time becomes more flexible. Paths that seemed closed open up. It's not a coincidence. It's the field responding to the coherence of your new internal state. That's exactly when many people go into shock. Because what they tried to achieve for years through effort starts to come closer without warning, without explanation. And the mind can't tolerate it. It wants to understand, to name it, to regain control. That's where the danger is. The mind will try to sabotage the flow. It will tell you it's luck, that it's an illusion, that it won't last. That's the final test, the moment when the field finally flows. But the mind starts to doubt, to intervene, to measure the invisible with old rules. If you don't know how to silence that sabotage, everything starts to close up again. Todd's law is clear. Flow, don't force. and the world yields to who you are. If you manage to silence that last attempt at control, something strange and profound happens. Your field changes. You stop emitting lack, urgency, control. You start to emit presence, a vibration so stable, so clean, so secure that the universe has no choice but to respond. That's when you become what the ancients called the golden vessel. And it's not a metaphor. It's physical. You feel it in your body. The anxiety disappears, not because you convince yourself that everything will be fine, but because you stopped trying to make it turn out fine. Doubt loses its strength, not because you have external evidence, but because your vibration became the proof. And at that frequency, everything arrives, not as magic, but as a consequence. The right love appears, not because you searched for it, but because it recognized your frequency. The right amount of money comes not from exhaustion, but from alignment. The answers arise not from insistence, but because your mind is quiet enough to hear them. You stop searching and start being sought after. Then you understand that what seemed like scarcity was just the reflection of a misaligned vibration. Now, with the field stable, everything flows so naturally that it seems like coincidence, but it isn't. It's attunement. The universe moves at your pace because you stopped conducting the music and became the sound. There is, however, a detail that cannot be ignored, a sacred rule, a vibrational limit that, if crossed, undoes everything. Because just as the field is built in silence, it can also be broken with the slightest gesture of doubt, haste, or attachment. Todd was clear. Once activated, the golden vessel cannot be used as a tool of control. It must be maintained as a state of being. The moment you try to use it to attract something, you've already fallen out of the frequency, because wanting is declaring absence. That state is only maintained when you are complete in the now, when you don't need to prove anything, when you are not waiting for the miracle, because you already live as if it had happened. And if you made it this far, there is something that needs to be revealed, not as a new technique, but as a memory. What Todd called the law of no effort is not a suggestion. It is a real structure of the universe, a silent gear that only works when you stop forcing. It's not mental, it's vibrational. The more you try to make something work, the more it pulls away. The more you insist, the more it gets postponed. Not as a punishment, but because the field only responds to coherence. It doesn't negotiate, it reflects. And now that you've activated this state, you start to notice the movement around you adjusting to your frequency. What used to avoid you now comes closer. What seemed distant now starts to appear. You're no longer searching. You are receiving. This is where the body understands what no book can explain. It's not about doing, it's about becoming. Todd's forbidden technique was never a formula. It was a frequency, a way of being in the world where everything happens without you having to chase after it, where reality bends to your vibration. That vibration has already been activated. Now you can go back to striving. You can let your mind convince you that you have to speed up again. Or you can remain in the conscious, steady, intentional flow. Because at this point, what you desire has already started to look for you. If you made it this far, it wasn't by accident. Something resonated inside. So write in the comments, I entered the flow. It's not just a phrase, it's an activation. Every person who writes it reinforces this field we're creating together.